Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andres, and today I'll be talking about the second book in the Earthsea series. The name of the book is called The Tombs of Atuan. This is not a direct follow-up, at least it doesn't start off as a direct follow-up of the first book. I'm not gonna give too many spoilers initially. I'll let you guys know when I'll talk about like specific spoilers. This starts off with a brand new character. Her name is Tanar or Arha, and it's basically set in the what we call the Kargat Empire, which is mentioned in the previous book. This is a land that's like kind of isolated. They have a god king who rules over this land. And actually, in the first book, they invade the land of our main character in the first book. But yeah, this book has a new main character. We start off from like the beginning of her life when she's a baby. She gets picked as the new priestess of the Tomb of the Nameless Ones, they call them. She's supposed to be the reincarnation of the priestess, seeing her in this tomb that's like in kind of like a deserty area of the Kargat Empire, and just finding out about this world, the culture, these gods, and there's some interesting twists along the way that I'm not gonna spoil. That was a basic summary of the plot, but my overall impressions of this book are the vibe is very different than Wizard of Earthsea. The writing, at least initially, it's very different. This is not like an adventure story like the first book, and the story also takes place in a singular location, the Tombs of Atuan, for the most part. Really sit in this area with like the main character and like three other characters, and it's just about them. So I could see some people not liking at least the beginning of this book compared to the first one. In my opinion, this is a superior book. I love this book. This book was great. It felt more adult in some ways, especially I think thematically than the first book. The world Le Guin keeps building in this series, it just feels so lived in. It's so real. You get in the first book many different cultures and civilizations, and then she expands upon a specific one in this book, and we find out more about the Kargat Empire and how it works. And I just love this like lore that she keeps building, and I like Tinar's journey of like self-discovery and freedom, and I connected with it more personally. So yeah, now I'm gonna go over the specific plot of the book. So I'm gonna go over my thoughts and opinions as I just go through the whole story. Yeah, this will be a spoiler discussion. So if Tinar gets picked as the new high priestess of what we call the Nameless Ones in the land of the Kargat Empire. She's basically stripped of her identity. Her name becomes Arha now because she's supposed to be the reincarnation of Arha, the original priest. She's, I guess, the full legend goes that Arha was the original priest for the Nameless Ones, and every time she passes away, she's reborn within an hour of her death. So they basically go through villages in the Kargat Empire, and they just try to find out, was there a female baby born within that hour, basically. And then if they find one, they figure, oh, this is Arha just reincarnated. But yeah, she's stripped of her identity, and she's forced to move to the temple, where she's trained by Thar and Kosil, who are priestesses of the God King of the Kargat Empire, who's like the ruler, and the other one's the priestess of the two old gods. I forget their names at this point, but they're not that relevant to this story. The two old gods aren't relevant to the story. The God King is relevant. He doesn't really show up in the story, but he has a lot to do with, I guess, more thematically, because we learn much more about the story of the God King. And Kosil, his priestess, is very important. She's like the primary antagonist, I guess, or the Nameless Ones, I guess you could see as the primary antagonist of the story. But yeah, she's also taught that wizards and magic are heresy, and the people basically from other lands besides Kargat are just evil. We know from the first book, if you read it, that Ged is a good guy in the end, and he's a wizard, right? And wizard, like we learn about many wizards that are very good people. So we obviously know this is fake, and we're already getting a sense of like this kind of sheltered life that people live in this empire, especially these priestesses, where they're just taught that everything that is unknown to them is just bad. But yeah, Arha's life basically is having to perform rituals, ceremonies, and even sacrifices of like criminals for the Nameless Ones. And she takes care also of the titular tombs. They have tombs underneath of like a, I guess, a throne. There's a maze, and it's supposed to be, I guess, that the nameless ones actually inhabit the tombs and the maze. So if any kind of like outside force that's not the priestess comes in, they can be influenced or they can be hurt by the nameless ones. Arha's taught most of the pathways of the maze. To a certain extent, there's still a lot that's unknown that she has to kind of discover on her own as the story goes on. And she also finds out that they have a treasure room that is special because it holds a half of the ring of Erith Akbe. And this ring is supposed to be a very powerful wizard relic that was split in two. And as I said, one half is here and the other half is, there's a legend from some other like noble peoples from the Kargat Empire that held that other half. Pretty clear, Arha lives a life of ignorance where she just takes what people in positions of power tell her like at face value. I mean, she's been taught this way ever since she was a girl. She's assigned this life. She didn't choose this life. And she doesn't really have a say into what she can and can't do. I mean, it's hard to question things when this is all you have. And you even still get a vibe from Arha slash Tenar that she feels unsatisfied with things and knows deep down inside it's like wrong. As the story goes along, it kind of becomes more like this doubt becomes more and more apparent. We get to, I guess, the turning point of the story. From the beginning to now in the story, it's just kind of been new setting, new character. We have we've heard about the Kargat Empire in the previous book, but finally we get Ged, the protagonist of the first book. He kind of barges in to the tomb. He's going through. Arha finds him there. She has this belief that anyone who kind of lights up a light in the tomb would get attacked by the nameless ones, and she sees that he's able to spark a light and no one is attacking him or anything. So she starts to question even more, like, what is going on? He ends up getting trapped in the maze, and Arha keeps watching him through spy holes that are set from like the top to look down into the tomb. And Kosil and Manan, who's her servant throughout the whole book, really push her to take him out by like starving him and then just, using him like as a sacrifice for the nameless ones. Arha ends up capturing him while he's in a weakened state because of the traps and starvation that he's been going through. This happens through the span of like a few days. And Arha and Ged start having conversations, and she starts doubting more and more her duties and position as high priestess because she sees, I guess, she's taught that Ged, a wizard, is heresy, is supposed to be this trickster, but then when she talks to him, he's like a very nice guy, very understanding. He doesn't even is not hostile and towards her, even though she's like captured him. So yeah, this kind of starts giving him more questions into her world and the lies she's been told. And Ged reveals that the nameless ones do exist in here and that he has been using magic to hold them off from basically taking him out. We at this point, I think, I don't know if they say specifically how old Ged is, but he seems like a more seasoned veteran guy. There's been some other dragon stories that have happened, so he, I guess, has enough power to hold off the nameless ones. And we find out the mirror shadow of himself, that's the primary antagonist of the first book, is a nameless one. So I guess the nameless ones are these like alternate shadow world versions of people, I guess, that can consume them from the first book. It's really good to see this tie-in back to the first book, first with Ged, and now with this lore of the nameless ones. We are learning more about the antagonists of the first book. And I like that the nameless ones are actually real and not just some like fake superstition. A lesser writer would have made it kind of like, oh, it's all fake and there are no nameless ones. Nameless ones shouldn't be praised. They shouldn't have like a priest. They're evil entities. So I do like that distinction. It makes a big impact for me. And also the fact that like the reincarnation stuff, we're not given a like outright answer, but I'm leading to assume that she's not actually the reincarnation of Arha. So some things can be real, some things can be fake. That's how it would happen in the real world. You're not just fully lied to about 100% of all things. He also reveals that he has the other half of the ring of Ereth Akbe, and that this ring, when combined, will be used in the land of Havnor to establish peace and I guess a rightful ruler. And his final thing that really completely breaks, I guess, Arha's psyche and just completely makes her question absolutely everything is he says her name to her, Tanar. And that just completely, I think, sends her back to her years as a baby, as a child, and trigger something in her. But then Arha and Qasil, who's like the high priestess of the God King, and have a big fight. Arha essentially curses Qasil and the God King in front of all the other like priestesses in training. This causes her to be afraid that Qasil will try to come to her and like try to assassinate her, and she ends up going back to Ged because she has no one else to help her. Ged ends up convincing Arha that she should escape with him, use her like real name, and that she should start a new life somewhere else and leave her previous life behind. They end up escaping, which causes the whole tomb to just cave in on itself because the Nameless Ones, I guess they're angered by Tenar now, not Arha anymore, leaving, and also because Ged was holding them back from attacking him because of like his magic. So yeah, they escape the tombs. They start journeying to Havnor to return the ring to its rightful people. And Tenar keeps faltering and she keeps feeling afraid of her future, while also being sad that, you know, she ended up wasting so many years of her life basically living someone else's. Ged decides he'll take her to his old master, Ogion. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Ogion. So he knows that bringing her there to like a more quaint town rather than like a big city will give her peace for a while so she can like acclimate to her new life, learn the new languages of the new lands that are not Kargad, just start having her own life and her own freedom. And the book ends with them reaching Havnor and having a huge celebration. The people are really happy that this is, you know, marking a new start for their land and having a rightful ruler and peace in the land of Havnor. So yeah, I really, as I said, I really like the book. I really like this messaging about freedom, finding yourself. Even in the first book, there's a lot of that theming from Ged and trying to fight his own self and like acknowledge the good and the bad with the like shadow he was fighting. And in this one, it's I think more about like us living, knowing that like things are wrong in our world and in our worldview. Like we're just told things and we just like assume them to be right and assume them to be true, even if maybe deep down inside we feel that they're holding us down and keeping us in chains. And Arha has this journey and she's able to free herself from this and chooses leading her own free life. So yeah, what do you guys think about the Tombs of Atuan? Is this your favorite book in the Earthsea series? I'm definitely going to continue reading the other books. I've had great fun with the first one and even more with this one. I really like this one, as I said. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.